This meeting is being in live stream.
Yeah, we are live. So right. Okay. So I think that's all for today. Yeah. Okay. Whereupon, would you like to say anything before we start?
So welcome again. Welcome back. Welcome everyone back to monthly online meditation. This is going to be the second time for this year. So let's see. Prajan will lead us to Vipassana, right? This day.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. And thank you once again. And this is our another session to practice meditation. Okay. So today, let's start off by being just silent for a while. Yeah? With the gong, let's start a short meditation. As you hear a gong, just to enjoy. So just feel the presenceness of yourself. Connecting with yourself, your body. Observing sensations and spend some time with the breath and relax. And just be with your breath. You may feel the breath rather than thinking about it. And just relax the entire body. Drop away all the thoughts, but connect with the body. Familiarizing with the body is very essential. Because when we become anxious, when we become a panic, when we feel stress, a first response we can observe is in our body. a chemical change takes place. So just feel your presenceness of the body. Since this is early morning, you may feel very lightness in your body. A lightness in your abdomen. Mind feels calm, brain settling. It's like a mind in a half sleep, body is still half sleep, but relaxed. So with the gong, just slowly come out from meditation. Okay, so today is the second day of our practice in this year 2022. So last session I mentioned about a basic concept of meditation. Yeah? And as we know that the meditation is a technique to calm the mind from all those distractions and creating a peaceful and a pleasurable state of the mind. It's like going to vacation. Yeah, going to vacation. Like a sanya had been a long traveling in so many places, so having a pleasurable time and enjoying. Yeah? And the practice of a meditation is also a journey to experience something very special. It's like a mental or inner journey, and that helps us to see very differently different experiences in our life. And it is also a path, or so-called a spiritual path, for the awakening. Every time when we practice, it just like awakens us to see things differently. Yeah. Initially, it was difficult for us to concentrate on the primary object. But as we developed and as we continue practicing, gradually we can see that we can keep our mind on the object. And meanwhile, we can understand that the mind normally travels and thinking and always distracted. And often that distraction makes us feel annoyed. I want to pay attention to the breath, and why am I thinking? Why I can't meditate like that? And that's another form of awakening too. And that is the reason that the meditation is a lifelong skill. Yeah, lifelong skill to cultivate the state of awareness. So it starts from cultivation of mind to be a one-pointedness, and then developing the awareness, and then further on, it's like a complete knowing, right? Knowing. And that knowing helps us to overcome difficulties. So that's why when we look at the root of the word meditation, it has a similar root with the medicine. So meditation is similar to medicine. And now medicine, when we take a medicine, it assists us to cure our physical illnesses and sickness. And this medicine, there are, again, broadly, there are two types. One is to prevent, like a vaccine that we are taking, prevent from the COVID. And that is not just the ultimate of taking the medicine. Another type of a medicine is curing our disease or sickness or illnesses. Okay? So medicine help us to cure or prevent physical sickness and illnesses, discomforts, diseases. Whereas meditation is a method to cure mainly mental illnesses. So basically building a mental well-being. And that having said that doesn't mean it won't affect to the body. The practice of a meditation does affect to the well-being of our physical body too. Like initially today, when we are just sitting, meditating, observing the body, we can experience how much our body was intense or how much our body is in relax. So meditation helps us to recognize that physical body as well, and help us to cure certain illnesses in our body too. But mainly, it is about the mental well-being. And now this practice of a meditation, as I mentioned last time, there are two types. That's a Samatha and Vipassana meditation. Now, a Samatha is a tranquility meditation or a concentration meditation, and a Vipassana is the insight meditation. Doesn't matter which one we are practicing, both interlinks one another. Right? Both interlinks one another. Now, in the practice of a meditation, it involves three main things. Number one, sitting. Number two, walking. And number 3, in daily activities. So being mindful of mindful of every activities in our day-to-day life. Now, in the sitting meditation, again, there will be 2 objects. One is a primary object that we pay attention to. And that is normally we are using breath or abdomen, whichever you feel comfortable with. We're using it as a primary object. And the process of practicing is basically your mind is concentrating on that particular object for some times until your mind settles. And the reason we can't stay still, we can't focus on paying attention to the object is simply because mind is not settled. Mind is just all over the world. And with that, we will not be able to concentrate. So that's why our mind is doing so many things at the same time. Yeah. So that's why the Samatha meditation helps us to keep the mind on the intended object. So attending this mind on the intended object. While we are paying attention to that particular object, what happens is that the mind naturally wants to go away, thinking other things. And whatever things that we are observing apart from the main object, and that is known as the secondary object. Okay? And that is known as the secondary object. And secondary object, we observe them, but we do not offer a tea. It's like a postie man. Yeah? Postie comes and knock your door, and then they just drop the mail and they will leave. We do not ask them to stay and drink a tea, coffee. Okay? So that is the secondary object. Whenever these things comes, and just let it be, let it go. Just recognizing them. So I call it, rather than reacting, simply responding. Aha, postman is here, and just let it be. Okay? So that is the in a sitting meditation. Right? So normally, because of not practicing meditation, what happens is that we pay more attention to the secondary objects. When we hear a sound, immediately we move towards the sound or look at the sound or try to conceptualize that what sound is about, where this sound is coming from. And meanwhile, we want to react and we want to do things. So we lost our focus attention. So it's very essential to practice this concentration meditation to develop focus attention so that we can concentrate on intended tasks that we are thinking to do. And that's how our performance in our job or in our any activity becomes quite well, because you are fully focusing on that and your mind is fully attended on that particular task. Okay? So that is the benefit of paying attention to it. And we become more close to ourselves. Okay? And the second practice is the walking meditation. And a walking meditation, again, it's essential because much of the time we are out and about. We are moving all around. So ability to be mindful of our activities will help us to develop more. So walking meditation will be the start to be mindful of our daily routine of activities. So in order to develop our mindfulness, so-called sati, we practice walking meditation. And in a walking meditation, we simply be mindful of our steps to start off. And then we again remember, we are not walking round and around. We are walking up and down, right? Just to break the system, break the routine. Okay? So walking from one corridor, end of the corridor, to the another end of the corridor, like that. So normally it's about 4 meters to maybe maximum 15 meters long, not more than that. Right? Or if you are counting steps, around 22 to 29 or 30 steps. But normally about 2 or 3 meters will be the sufficient length of a walking meditation. As if you are walking very slowly and being mindful of each steps, if more than 3 meters makes you tired and makes you bored. But if you are just walking, brisk walking, then it takes about 22 to 29 or 30 steps. And after that, you feel bored. You feel lost into the thoughts. Okay, so that is. And further on in the practice of a walking meditation, we have like 6 stages of walking meditation that you can practice. And I think I have mentioned these different meditations in the past, at least for 3 stages. Yeah, so you can listen and practice that one. Okay. And that will help us to bring balance of our mind in our day-to-day life. So become aware of all the body movements and mental engagement in any activities that we are performing. And that is really important. I call it taking a meditation with you. So do not leave a meditation on a cushion. Okay? So take it with you. That is, and that's really important. So these are the 3 main areas that we will be focusing during meditation. Okay. And now we, as I have said, that there are 2 types of a meditation, the Samatha and Vipassana, or the concentration and insight meditation. So today I will be speaking or guiding on the concentration meditation as main subject. Okay. So Samatha meditation or the concentration meditation is basically the unification of our mind. Right? Unification of our mind. Normally our mind is scattered all around. Whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we smell, whatever we taste, or whatever we come to contact with our body, whatever we are thinking, it's conditioned that many. And along with that, we are simply losing our energy. You may have heard me saying that when the water becomes scattered, it hasn't got the energy. So the electricity being dispersed, so that there can't be any electricity. But once that been concentrated by building the dam and releasing it through a small intended hole, then that produces the energy. Same with the mind. When the mind is scattered, it hasn't got the mind power. So we don't have a power to build up energies to work on it, work with the world and work with any other troubles. And the practice of a meditation here, the Samatha meditation, is simply this scattered mind coming into the one point, concentrating. And that concentration helps us to build up the energy. So that is the concentration. And here in the practice, we are using a breath or the abdomen as the first object of a concentration. So breathing in and breathing out, we are paying attention to it. So solely being mindful of incoming breath and outgoing breath. And in this practice, help us to unite our mind, basically bringing the scattered mind by focusing on it. So this is also known as intended object, that we are deliberately disconnecting or distracting our mind from many distractions to only one distraction, that is the breath. Okay. And that will be the first task. And now the question comes, which objects would be suitable for us? Which object shall I use to pay attention to? As I have said again and again, in my teaching mostly will be paying attention to the breath or the abdomen rising and falling. You have to choose which one you are working with. All right. If you don't mind me telling that either of it is fine. Which one are you following? Which one you feel comfortable? Breath or abdomen? Anyone?
Abdomen.
Abdomen. Okay.
For me too, abdomen, or like the whole body. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I'm following the breath.
Following the
Out.
breath. Yeah. Okay.
Me
Whereupon
too. Breath.
breath. Okay. So yeah, Virupon, maybe he's driving at the moment. And so now here, abdomen or the breath, you will be using as the primary object. So whenever you meditate, after observing the body, feelings, and then simply bring that attention to settle down your mind on the primary object, breath or the abdomen. Okay. And now, when we are paying attention to the breath or the abdomen or a so-called primary object, we have to make sure our body is fully relaxed. Okay. We have to make sure that our body is fully relaxed. Calming the mind is heavily affected if our body is not calmed, if our body is not relaxed. If you are very tense in our body, then it will be difficult to calm the mind. So calming the body helps to calm the mind. So that's why in a practice, we need to relax the entire body. Right? Entire body, releasing it, releasing from holding the hands or holding your, especially the shoulders. So you have to release. And I call it letting go of your body. Let the chair, if you're sitting on a chair, let the chair hold you. If you're sitting on a cushion, let the cushion hold you. You do not have to hold yourself. And see what happens in your body. Like you are simply become an observer of this entire body. Like your mind is away from your body and watching your body sitting. Like a soulless body. Right? So with that, the body relaxes completely. And then when body relaxed completely, at that time, all you can observe would be some form of a movements or a sensations that are taking place in our body. Right? And that sensation helps us to connect with our mental states. When we become anxious, when we become panic, when we become stressed, we can observe that this body becomes very tense, very tight in our muscles, tight in our brain, tight in our eye, on the back of our eyes. And the muscles become very tense. And with that, it's very difficult to observe in a very relaxed way. And our mind is not relaxed. Okay? And with that, what happens is that the anxiety develops. Panic becomes like a more panic. unable to control, unable to deal with that panic. And the stress simply becomes more and more. And that affects physical body, sweating, shaking, and unable to speak, gone into the red or pale like that. That's simply because of unable to be mindful of bodily changes due to these situations. And now, when we are observing the body in that way, relaxed in this way, then our mind simply settles on the intended object. So primary objects become the anchor or focus point that we can settle it down. Easy to be with it. It's like a coming back to home. Take it easy then. Yeah. So you will be just relaxed on the primary object. And that is the way to do. Now, although we are choosing a breath or abdomen as the primary object of concentration, where we take it as a refuge place or a coming home, a home base, doesn't mean that there are only these two objects. There are many objects that we can use, but for us, this is the one that we are practicing, just to begin with. So, and after that, what happens next is that we will be able to be mindful of different types of it. But before going into the different types, first we have to make sure that the mind becomes one with that object. Right? With like a breath, mind is fully absorbed with the breath. You can observe the breath, always in that breath or in abdomen. And that moment, as the nature of the mind that always goes off, in those moments when the mind goes off to somewhere else, need to be very balanced mind. And do not think that I'm supposed to be meditating while I'm thinking. So do not blame yourself. Do not be too harsh on yourself. Simply recognizing, okay, my mind is distracted, and then just bring it back. So this is the, the practice. You're focusing on the breath or the primary object. When your mind goes off, I used 4 words. Number 1 is observing that mind is distracted to something else. Number 2, acknowledge that my mind is no more with my intended object, but it has chosen something else. So acknowledgement of the mind, the naughtiness of mind. And then a third, simply making a mental note. Okay, my mind is thinking. Or okay, my mind is hearing. Oh, my mind is experiencing a pain. Like that. And that moment, you are making a mental note of it. Thinking, thinking, thinking. Or hearing, hearing, hearing. Or feeling of the pain. Noticing that pain, pain, pain. Okay? And if your awareness is sharp enough, within 3 times of making a mental note, you realize that, okay, now it's time to let go. And then you simply let go of that object and back to the primary object. Do you understand? Okay, simply back to the primary object. It's like when we are driving a car. Initial time when we were learning how to drive a car, at that moment, our mind is so agitated because of so many things to do, and a driving instructor will simply say, okay, focus on this, focus on that. And with that, gradually, we develop the concentration of it and become skilled in it. So similar way, in this practice, we are doing like that. So paying attention to the primary object. When your mind goes off, observing that mind, acknowledging it, mental note of it, and let go, and back to the primary object. Okay, so this we will practice again. Okay? So with this, let's practice. As you hear a gong, and we'll lead you through. Okay, so bring your attention to the moment here and now. Observing your body. Let it relax. Let the entire body relax. And bring your attention to the intended primary object. And settling down, grounding yourself, and see that how long you can be mindful of the primary object. So when it is rising, making a mental note of it, that it is rising. When it is falling, making a mental note of it as it is falling. So rising, falling. If you're using breath as a primary object at the nose, then making sure that you're mindful of breath coming in and going out through the nostrils. And consciously making a conscious awareness of it. Breathing in, breathing out. So breathing in, breathing out. Rising, falling. Do not let the mind go away to think anything or observe any objects, but simply be mindful of the primary object, rising, falling, breathing in, breathing out, rising, falling. By paying attention to this primary object, we are developing this focus attention. accumulating energies for the mind. But however, when we are paying attention to this primary object, when the mind distracted, due to the sound or the pain or even thinking, those moments, simply observe that your mind is distracted, acknowledge that distracted mind, and aware of it by simply making a mental note that this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm observing, this is what I'm perceiving. By simply naming it or labeling it, thinking, 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 or pain, pain, pain. By offering kindness to it and let go. And back to the primary object. So by practicing in this way, try to be with the primary object and be mindful of the secondary objects and not paying attention to the secondary objects, but put more effort to be with the primary object, help us to develop our mind, developing focus attention, an ability to focus on the tasks in our day-to-day life. with the gong, come out from meditation. Okay, so this floor is yours now. You can share your experience or any questions before we move on.
I can share quickly.
Okay.
I think I lose power a lot because there has been so many distractions. I have to admit that during the last months, I haven't practiced at all. And this time around, I think I have a lot of distraction in my head. And actually, I can feel that, I lose power. I cannot even stand still and almost fell asleep, kind of. But still trying to get back. And then when I get back to the breath, then let's say I stay with the breath, then I gain back power. I can stay still again. So it's really come and go. It's really a question of practicing, actually. So that's my experience.
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
I always repeat to everybody that the more we practice, the better we become. It's similar to going to gym. When we go to the gym, someday and we will be doing everything in line with the routine. You will be going with the special diet, and you will be doing a certain amount of exercise every day or twice a week or 3 days a week. You will not miss it. You will not eat anything that you want. You will be very strict with your diet. And after doing that for maybe 3 months time, you see body change, muscle change, and you feel energized. But if you do not keep that routine and go back into like, okay, I got the muscles, I am feeling energized, and now I don't need to go back to gym. Within a month, you put a lot of weight on, become a chubby, and then you lose all those muscles and all those energies. Right? And if you want to develop, or if you want to have the initial, like a previous body and energy, then you have to re-routine again, going back to the same routine, and only then you will get it. But if you continue keeping the same routine continuously and persistently doing it, then it will maintain, and you become you will get a greater body, greater energy, and also mentally you become a fit as well, because there is a routine of doing it. Become mentally also engaged in that. Same in the practice of a meditation too. In the practice of a meditation also, when we are continue practicing, it gives us energy, and it gives us focus, and the ability to focus in a task that we are paying attention to, and the mind will not be dispersed here and there. And with that, the performance in our jobs will become greater. We can pay more attention to it and will be more conscious about what we are doing. So it's a matter of a continue practicing. Now, the difference between going to gym and a practice of a meditation is that going to gym, you can do only in the gym. And you can do only in that moment of the time. It's like a Samatha meditation, concentration meditation. You're doing only for that particular time. But the practice of a meditation, we can do every time, all the time, anywhere, wherever you are. So that's why it's being mindful of daily routine or daily activities, whatever we are doing. And that simply, once we have understood the meaning of it, and we are practicing little by little, but never give up, and continue practicing, continue being mindful of, then it will basically sprouts more. Sati becomes more. That's why if you remember me saying, sati is not just a mindfulness, but remembering to be mindfulness. Remembering to be mindful of our daily routine. And that is, in a way, another sense I was referring again and again, is that it's like collecting the points. Like each drop of water, doesn't matter how slow that drop of water is dripping. If we put a jar in it, eventually the jar will fill up. Same in the practice of a meditation too. So whenever we remember to be mindful. Okay. Here, like that. Yes, Janine?
That especially reminds me of something you said once, that in the village, in the prune village in France, they have a bell ringing every 15 minutes, so you can come back to be mindful, and they have an application for that. The problem is that I downloaded the application, and the first weeks I was every time like, okay, I'm mindful, and now I'm just like, oh, now it's 3 o'clock. But whatever, it was very good, this exercise right now, because since 10 o'clock this morning I have one of my neighbors who is playing the same rap song the whole time. And so while I was sitting here and trying to be mindful of the breath, I really had this distraction all the time, and I could feel how I wanted to go to the window to see who it is doing that, and I could observe that, and it was so annoying not to go. So I observed my being annoyed.
Yes, that's what it's the ability to recognize that how the desire dragging us to go somewhere else. So that's why it takes a lot of what's called the discipline, that we have to be making sure that, okay, this is the time of my practice. Now I am not going to do anything. It's like 8 o'clock, I have to be in the gym. Now I have to be in the gym. I cannot go anywhere else. So you're spending an hour of working in the gym. A similar way in the practice of meditation, okay, this time is the practice. Now I am going to pay attention to the intended object, and the rest I'm not going to pay attention at all. So that's why it takes a lot of energy to discipline ourselves. And if we do not do it, the mind simply becomes like a chief, and it's like a boss. I know you like this one, but I don't like it, so I will take it to somewhere else. So I simply, always disconnect you from the intended jobs. And that's what I think I read one article a few days ago. The article was saying that Leonardo da Vinci, he was very good at paintings, but his concentration was not that great. So he was basically painting one picture, and then he will just leave it unfinished and then do another picture. So with that, he had drawn or painted over 10,000 pictures, but none of them are complete apart from the Mona Lisa. And even the Mona Lisa picture, why that Mona Lisa picture is so important, because it took him to finish that for 16 years. So 16 years he spent, so basically he maybe scratched, drafted, and then left it and then gone away, and then again coming back and inviting this lady, and then work on with it a little bit, and then again disappear. So that's why the Mona Lisa picture has so many different angles in it. And when we look at it in different ways, it gives you a different flavor of that picture. That's why it becomes very famous world picture. Although it's very small, like less than maybe A4 picture, but it's so expensive and so famous. And that is simply because of distraction. He wasn't able to complete, and it took him 16 years. So, and that is simply unable to focus on the task that one is doing it, although he was so great. So similar way, in our day-to-day life, we may have experience, particularly nowadays, since there is a social media, we may think, okay, I will be on social media for 10 minutes. By the time when you realize it's already gone an hour. It's already an hour. Oh my goodness, what am I doing here? You realize it. And then again, you will say, oh, I'm not going to do it. So you will maybe put the phone down, or you will close the application, social media application down. And after a couple of minutes or 10-15 minutes, again, just have a look. What's going on? And you go back again. So with that, the task that supposed to be doing, and which is supposed to be fruitful and should be doing, left undone. Like Leonardo da Vinci, the Mona Lisa picture, maybe to finish one article that we are writing, maybe will take 16 years, like the Mona Lisa picture. Okay.
But I'm working right now on a copy that I have started 20 years ago.
There you go.
But I'm not a genius like Leonardo. But I have the same problem at the moment. I am struggling enormously with my discipline, and I can feel that the energy simply is not good. I mean, not the energy for meditation, but that because I'm not meditating enough, that I'm not disciplined enough, that the energy is going away. I can feel that too.
Yeah, that's why the first practice, the Samatha meditation, is very important, very, very essential to keep us focusing or keep us on the task that we are doing. It's hard, but eventually, as we practice, and gradually we will be able to disconnect the rest of other unnecessary activities and ability to focus on the task that we are intended to do. So that is being mindful of what is important and what is not. And if you remember, I have said in the past, I mentioned about practice of a meditation is like a filing the papers, that which one is important and which one is least important. And with that, you will be paying attention to the most important tasks to go through with it, like that. And here again, one more things that I want to stress here, that the making a mental note is so important. Ability to make a mental note each time when it's there, or in the meditation territory or in a world, normally it's known as noting or labeling it or naming it each time when we observe, or each time when we notice that. So in the practice, when we able to name it or labeling it by noting, that basically means we become aware in the present moment. It always brings to the moment here and now. So as a noting is like, I call it a hammering. hammering a nail. So you just simply hammer that, and that only happens in the very moment here and now. So this is a very useful device that supports in our practice, and that helps us to develop our attention, and then that attention will help us to be mindful of our own present moment of body and the mind. How am I here? What am I doing here? Like that. Oftentimes people say, there is an example of that you're driving to go to somewhere, but you are thinking, and with that, rather than turning a left or a right, you gone far away. Like here in our center, when people are coming from another city, there is a big roundabout and there's a motorway, and if they missed that motorway, this exit, then they have to go far away, and it will take another 20 minutes to come back. And I have seen quite a few, even though they have been here many times, somehow become heedless, and they will be talking in a different subjects, and then they just missed that, and with that they gone far away. Okay. So it's a matter of noting the very moment when we are when we have an ability to this noting, then we will be able to be in the present moments, an ability to focus and keep our attention, sustaining our attention on that particular task that we are doing. So we will be in the present. And this noting, we have to do it repeatedly, making it again and again, each time when it happens. And when each time when we are making a mental note of it, what happens is that mind gradually tune into our own self and in the present moment. When mind tuned into the present moment, eventually, as our mind sharpens, it becomes automatic. And by having this automatic mind to be mindful of these small tasks or in a detailly, it helps us to understand that, oh, this is changing. Yeah. Oh, this is changing. So we will be able to comprehend that nature of change. So that's why early on, when I was giving you a guidance, when you hear the sound, make a mental note of a hearing. So it's like a hammering, hearing, hearing, hearing. And if we are thinking, then it's thinking, 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 like that. So that is basically coming into the moment, right? And that making a mental note or the naming help us to recognize that the words, even the words that we are saying, let's say hearing, hearing, hearing 3 times. And if we become aware, then we will be able to recognize, oh, this is changing, a new word coming, a new word coming. So we will be able to recognize that. So that is changing. And this is the essential part of the development of our meditation. And it becomes a powerful, and mind simply becomes very sharpened and sharpened. Okay.
I think it's also very interesting to think. I'm just while listening to this one, you said about doing specific tasks, which is actually probably like when we're doing certain thing, we are trying to focus on it. So basically concentration. And but then my question is that, and what about who's a person who is able to do multitask? Because for me, I think the multitask is the ability of a person who is very sharply focused on certain thing, but they can focus on maybe a number of things at the same time, like 1 or 2, but they are able to finish, because actually multitasking in the reality, it's not, it's just a slice of time, but it depends on how long we want to slice it. Probably if you slice it every 1 or 2 seconds on one task and the other one in 2 or 3 tasks, because actually even in the computer thing, you know, multitasking computer is actually, it's a slice of time and doing a series of tasks, but actually it's a very sequential, but in a very small one. So at the end of the day, we perceive as if it's a multitasking. But then in a human mind, probably, if you are doing like 2 tasks, multitasking, you really, it's an ability that of the person that can focus on one thing in a slice of time and doing the other thing in another slice of time. So basically, for me, the person who is doing multitasking is ability, but we should not try to be multitask, because then you fail, because you lose basically thing. So I think the multitasking comes automatically after maybe you are very able to sharply focus on things, but then you slice time doing thing almost as if you are doing multitasking, but actually you do thing but finish very quickly, and the other thing finish very quickly as well. So it becomes like this. I don't know. I'm just thinking, because I don't want multitasking to be perceived as a negative thing.
No, it is not negative. It is multitasking. Basically, I normally say that mothers are the best person who has got the multitasks ability, and they are the good meditator. Because a mother, she can do so many things at the same time. Let's say she is cooking. Now her baby is sitting somewhere. Now she is able to look at the cooking pot, chopping board, chopping, and also washing. And in the meantime, her mind is fully awake, mindful of her baby. Yeah. So all these things, and now if you have a husband, then again, you are mindful of your husband. Yeah. So a mother can have that awareness of so many things at the same time, but she doesn't lose her mind. See, her mind is present there, that these tasks she has to perform. And with that, her mind is present there and ability to focus on each things at once at a time. But remember, a mother, suppose, has got something else in her mind going on, and her mind is not in that present moment, she would not be able to look at all these tasks and will not be able to perform those tasks completely. Will be a mess. Maybe she will cut her own finger, or maybe she would not be able to recognize boiling water. She would not be able to wash the pot, or she will not be able to communicate with her husband, and she will not be able to notice her baby is sitting just by her. So these are the tasks will not be able to be mindful of this what's going on. And that's simply because her mind is not in the present moment, not in there, the tasks that she's supposed to be doing.
Because
sorry. Oftentimes people think that the multitask is not good, but actually it's good. But the awareness, the level of awareness is there, needed. And a mother knows the priorities, that what is the priority. So that's how she is always mindful of each task that she was doing or she is doing. But the multitask, if you have taken a lot beyond in the vicinity, then that causes a trouble.
Yeah. Then I think being able to multitasking is a consequence of you are very focused. You are able to focus on a certain thing and still be mindful of the rest. that you can switch over from one task to the other very sharply. And then you don't lose control of the whole thing. It's like chopping the board, like cooking, taking baby. Actually, you are aware that there are so many things on your shoulder, but you finish thing like I cut now, I finish it, and then I do this. So actually, you need to have a really sharp mind and very fully concentrate on the moment while aware that there are other things around you. So basically, I think this is also maybe it's also a meditating, being focused will help you to become multitasking automatically, but we should not try to be multitasking, because then you tend to fail.
We should not be trying to be multitasking, but
exactly.
as this is actually comes in the practice of a Vipassana meditation. The more we become aware of our senses, then we will be able to react in those quickly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Whereupon?
I don't know if we have time. We spend so much time for sharing. But anyway, just in short, it's very good. It's really, really good with this one. I start, let's go back. I have an opposite with Sanya in the beginning. Before I start to do the meditation this way, to focus with the primary object, which is the breath, I feel asleep. I'm very tired. However, when I start to do the breathing and then focus to the primary object, it's really wake me up. It's like a wake up, really wake up. And then more and more, and then I focus with the primary object, just washing, and then I'm be able to recognize that my daughter is walking. So that's why I hearing, and come back automatically with the breath. I think I have to open the door. So anyway, just to summarize, this is very efficient. In some point of time, I feel like it's very focused, and it's very focused and feeling like I cannot see my breath. You know, it's too sharp, and the breath is gone. The breath is gone. But when I hear again, it's hearing, and it's coming automatically, and then suddenly it's like I can see my breath again. So I look the breath at one point of time. Also, is about the breath is so long. I watch it, I look it, it's not stop. It's like a so deep breath, and I just watch it, but I can feel of the breath. But anyway, I realized that the breath is not the same together. Sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long, sometimes it's breathe deeply. And once I hear something of my daughter walking or running, and like you just said, it's about the repeating again. It's I hearing, thinking, and the brain is go back, and it's cutting again. It's sharp to see the breathe again. It's like a circle. It's circle practicing.
Yeah. So like that. The first thing also we have to remember, as our mind settles down, breath becomes very subtle, and that moment, if we are not making a note of it, or so-called consciously aware of that, and then making a note that I am breathing, that normally takes us to the so-called blank, and where I am, what I'm doing. So that's why mental note is so important. And in those cases, quite often our thoughts, our hearing the sound, or pain, it will assist us to back to the moment. And when we are making a mental note, as Warapon said, a couple of times of making a note, we see that it's gone. And that moment, the mind again will try to find somewhere to be. And because you've been practicing breathing meditation as a primary object, so you know when to come back home. So when there is no distraction, you're simply able to think of the home base. Now you're coming back home. Otherwise, if you never practiced, what happens is that after finish this, you will think of another thing. You will think of another thing and lost into the thoughts. And that's how we lose our energy. Yeah, it's like dropping all the nuts and screws from our body. And then that's how we feel worn out, exhausted, tired. Whereas when we are practicing breathing meditation or practicing any form of a meditation, we're simply bringing this mind back to ourselves, like resting. Resting mind and the body and rejuvenating ourselves and getting more energies to energize ourselves so that we can work further on.
Yes, exactly. It's like I recharge my energy. I would say I lose my energy last night. It's so tired. But then when I come back to the breathing and focus, like you just explained, I feel like I feel battery in plug in again. And I have a full battery again.
Yeah. So that's why it's quite essential to, if you remember me saying that it's very essential to have the primary object and familiarizing with it, because of that, whenever we are alone or whenever something has been done, we simply, rather than thinking something else, we come back and we relax and find the peace within. Yes, Janine?
Yeah, I wanted to say something to what Sanya said about multitasking. So personally, I'm not good at all at multitasking. So I try to avoid it as much as possible. And due to my work, where I have to be very concentrated and very careful the whole day, I am often very awkward the rest of the time once I get out of the studio, and I break a lot of things. And I realized that since I'm doing meditation, which is quite a while now, there is it's like as if there is some kind of watchman on the high tower that, and I really can see when I didn't meditate like for a month or something like that, that watchman isn't there anymore. And so while, for example, I'm cleaning a table and then with the hand I am throwing down a glass or something like that, I realized that since I'm meditating, I just grab the glass while I'm still cleaning with the other hand. It's amazing.
Yeah. That happens. That's simpler because of the attention or the level of awareness been developed, and ability to let all the senses work in the same time, but in a different way, because our mind works very fast. Mind works so fast, and if we know how fast this mind works, then we are the Buddha. Like that, we will be able to deal with this without any troubles. And again, this practice helped us to stop. Basically, we can have this physical well-being and mental well-being. Otherwise, let's say we are thinking something and become stressed or anxious about it. If we never practice, what happens with that? We want to get away as soon as possible, and rather than thinking of it coming out, we are adding more, and that's another reason of we cannot sleep. And that's if you remember me saying that when we can't sleep, don't try to think that why I can't sleep, because the more you think about it, you can't sleep. Sleep is the mode of not thinking. Now, if you're thinking, then you can't sleep. So same with practice. Rather than escaping from those mental thoughts or any other distractions, what we are simply doing is, okay, leveling it, knowing it, I am having. So with that, you're coming to the moment here. And that moment, you will be able to function properly and free yourself. And mind becomes fresh, body becomes energized, and then life moves on and go on and be happy. Okay, so let's practice with this. Well, okay, sit in a comfortable position. Relax the entire body. Observing the sitting body, imagine that you are sitting in front of the mirror and looking at your sitting body. Losing all the tensions, and relax. And bring your attention to the primary object. Spend time on the primary object, which is the way to unify our mind, body, the unification of the mind, and keeping in this body. Be mindful of your primary object and spend time with it. Making sure no stress and tension in your body. Let the body relax and calm. When body calms, mind automatically calms. So breathing in, breathing out, rising, falling. Making a mental note of it, consciously aware of each moment and establishing awareness of it. So making a mental note when incoming breath takes place, making a mental note of it. Breathing in, and when breathe out, making a mental note of it, breathing out. Rising, falling. When it is rising, making a mental note of it rising. When it falls, making a note of it falling. So rising, rising, falling, falling. While you're paying attention to the primary object, if your mind is distracted by the sound or by the thoughts or by the physical sensation, observing this distracted mind, acknowledging and noting, and let it go back to the primary object. Repeatedly doing it again and again, and making a mental note of it. Doesn't matter what arises, knowing it and making a mental note of it. And just to remember that the primary object is the place that we keep our mind unified, and the rest of other objects that arises are secondary objects that we do not pay much attention to it. Simply observe, acknowledge it, note, and leave it. So only two tasks. One is to pay attention to the primary object. So paying attention to it with our intention. Undivided attention is there. And when other objects arises, known as secondary objects, simply observe, acknowledge, note, and let go. Do not hold on to it. So I call it, do not offer a tea. And back to the moment, here and now. And whatever is there, just making a mental note. So this is the awareness. Breathing in, breathing out, making a mental note of it. Breathing in, breathing out, rising, falling, making a mental note of it. Rising, falling. mind distracted, knowing that distraction, thinking, hearing. Each time when we make a mental note, we are in the present moment, here and now, not into the thoughts or in the past or the future. So developing this focus attention, samatha, keeping the mind one-pointedness. Now we also practice loving kindness meditation. So I would invite you to relax the entire body again, awareness of the sensation in your body. Whatever sensations are in your body, be mindful of that. And bring that attention to your hands. Mindful of any sensations in your hand. And bring that attention to your heart. Feel the beating heart. And as you feel the beating heart generating loving kindness and compassion to yourself, and sharing that loving kindness and compassion to yourself from bottom of your heart. And if you can't feel the beating heart, physically smiling will help you. And as you feel the smile, sharing that happiness to yourself. I am well, I am happy, I am at peace. I am well, I am happy, I am at peace. Similarly, sharing loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings, starting from near dear one, or any particular person that you think that they really need it in this very moment. And sending this love and kindness. May you be well, may you be happy, may you be at peace, may you be free from suffering. And people around you, in the house, in the community, in the country, on earth, in the universe. Whatever beings there are, visible and invisible beings, small or large, big or tall, may they be well, may they be happy, may they be at peace. May they be free from suffering. May they be liberated. Liberated. Bring that attention to your hands, aware of your hand and sensations in your hand. And to your body. Be mindful of your body and to your eyes. And as you hear a gong, slowly coming out from meditation and reflect for a few moments. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. And this month, continue practicing with these three things, yeah? Paying attention to the primary object and making a mental note of distractions. Remember to make a note of it. Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
was very helpful.
Last minute here. Okay. I think today I learned really a lot, and I think that there's not so many things that you can find the one thing, but in meditation today, the one thing I learned is the ability to let go, and to be able to create this ability to let go is focusing on the primary object. And for me, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but I think in meditation, the worst distraction is not being able to let go the feeling of calm. And sometimes we get addicted to it, and then you just not even be able to move on. And that's the worst distraction, actually.
Correct.
I think when we have a mental note that, okay, now we calm, get back to the primary object, then we will be able to let go. And I think it's the best feeling. You feel calm and you stay there. You move nowhere, actually. So for me, it's really helped to, ability to let go, even the calmness, let it go. Because actually, nothing. Actually, nothing. So
Bravo.
that really learned today.
I agree with that, because there was a moment, because I was not so sleepy this morning, and there was a moment when I was starting to get calm, and it was like getting sleepy again. And I thought, okay, I will not, if I go there, I will not think, that is sure, but I'm not awake anymore. So I came back to the primary object too.
Very good. So continue practicing, and we'll see you in 4 weeks time again.
Mid of April.
Mid of April, yes.
Yes, 17 April. Prasan, okay, right? Was it available?
17 April. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Continue
Bye-bye.
practicing and